Hi, I'm Lisa Gonzales, Chief Business Officer here in Mount Diablo Unified. And in this week's edition of Ask the CBO, I'm going to briefly share what the making is of the budget. So it starts at the state level. We take a look at what happens. It comes down to the district level. And so why don't we go ahead and get started? This is what the state budget cycle looks like. So to start with, let's just start in July because it's probably the easiest way to look at it. Our fiscal year begins on July 1st. So July 1st, we open up new accounts. We take a look at our budget, which is our estimate for what's going to happen during the school year. Again, it's just a plan. In September, what we do is we take a look at our unaudited actuals. So that's our opportunity to look back to the next school year to say, this is what we budgeted and what our plan was for spending, and this is what we actually spent. In December, we report on our first interim. Our first interim is our first formal check-in of spending based on what we thought we were going to spend in our adopted budget. So it's our first big check-in. At that point in time, we share that with the board and with the community. It goes to our county office and they respond to our first interim and they give us feedback. Then we take a look at January, and that's where our governor comes out with his message on what he thinks is going to happen in the future. He makes his predictions on what he's going to do with the budget, and he identifies his top priorities. The reason that's important is because at that point in time, we start taking a look at our budget assumptions. So we start that process right about the beginning of February, and we start saying, look, this is what we think the costs are going to be for the upcoming school year. These are the number of staff that we believe that we're going to have. This is what the governor is saying and how we're going to adjust our actions based on what he's predicting in his message. And then we roll into the second interim. And this is our second checkpoint, if you will, our second opportunity to say, this is what our budget was, and this is where we are with spending. Again, we submit it to the board for its review and approval. It goes to the County Office of Education. It is again shared with the community. And then we sit and we continue to work on our assumptions. We start budget development with all of our school sites, and then we roll into May. And this is what's happening this week. The governor is going to come out with his May revise or his May revisions to his January budget message. And what we're going to do over the course of the next month is we will finalize our budget development based on what the governor does. After that, we bring a proposed budget to the board. We will be doing this on June 9th, and we will go through the proposed budget as well as the adoption process so that the board and the community will have an opportunity to weigh in on our budget, and then our board will approve our budget in the end of June. The only challenging piece in the whole thing is that the board is adopting a budget based on what the governor has said that he wants to cover, fund, prioritize all of his numbers, but we adopt our budget before the state adopts its final budget. So we always have an opportunity for what's called a 45-day revision. We did that last summer. We have the opportunity to do that again. The one thing that's not on this chart is because we had two qualified budgets this year, our first interim and our second interim, we will report on what's called a third interim. We will do that in a couple of weeks. And it's just two information items that we need to share with the board and the public and send to the county office. That includes our current cash flow, as well as an adjusted multi-year projection as of April 30th. So we're in the process of preparing that. You'll see that coming forward. But this week, in a nutshell, super simple. This is the budget cycle. And this is what we respond to with the state. So with that said, if you've got a question for next week, please go ahead and send that to cbo@ndusd.org.